6:48. And so to a man who knows and has worked with the two world leaders who've been deciding the fate of Ukraine this afternoon. John Bolton was National Security Advisor during President Trump's first administration, during which time he visited Moscow and he dealt directly with President Putin on Trump's behalf. He spoke with me earlier and I asked him, given that he knows both men directly, who did he think was going into this discussion in a stronger position?
I think Vladimir Putin is clearly in the stronger position. Well before this call, Donald Trump had effectively flipped America's position from being supportive of Ukraine to being supportive of Russia. And he made concessions on his own hook that were critical to Russia's position. Trump agreed that Ukraine would not be restored to its full sovereignty and territorial integrity, which is the official U.S. and NATO position, or was up until that point. You know, you can say, well, that was going to be the outcome of negotiation anyway. That may be true, but you don't give it away at the front end. And Trump went beyond that. He said there will be no NATO security guarantees. There will be no NATO membership for Ukraine. There will be no U.S. security guarantees. So from Putin's point of view, Trump's giving away what Putin might have thought were hard issues to negotiate, and maybe more are coming.
Yeah, it's very hard to peer even into the near future. But if, as a result of all of this, Ukraine is weakened and the Russians attack again and get deeper into Ukraine and perhaps win the war entirely, does that damage America's position in the world? Does that make the White House think in any way again about the position it's taken?
I think the U.S. is already damaged in the world by this flip-flop, by bringing Russia out of isolation. Putin himself, I think even before the inauguration, Trump said that he hoped to visit Moscow and wanted Putin to come and visit the United States. And you can see from the reaction of the German chancellor to be saying he wanted independence from the United States. You got to be very careful with that kind of rhetoric. It's a permission slip for Donald Trump to withdraw from NATO completely, which he almost did in 2018. In the Cold War, it was the Soviet objective to split the West. We're well on the way to giving them that objective right now.
That takes me perfectly on to my next question, which is about the role of Britain and the other so-called coalition of the willing 29 other states. The idea that British and French troops will be on the ground in Ukraine, backed up by other countries, to try to maintain the peace or police the deal or whatever it is, without American support. Giving candid advice to your British friends, is this a good idea?
Well, Prime Minister Starmer has said repeatedly that he expects U.S. backup for this, intelligence, logistics, that sort of thing. I'm not sure Trump is going to agree to that. So if that's critical, I'm not sure that the peacekeeping force really gets off the ground. Now, what I've read about the proposal is, if I understand correctly, this would be a robust peacekeeping force that would act against a breach of the ceasefire. You know, unlike traditional UN peacekeeping forces, which simply use force only in their own self-defense. Have people in Britain and France really thought that through? Are they prepared to fight Russian troops who violate a ceasefire?
Well, exactly. That's the point. Are we stumbling towards a full military confrontation with Russia, sending in troops initially as peacekeepers, but then the Russians keep advancing and we are forced into fighting them? There's no question of a doubt that Western Europe is not properly prepared yet to take on Russia in a full-scale war.
Yeah, I mean, this is look, UN peacekeeping forces are often ridiculed for good reasons, but they at least understand they're not going to fight in Lebanon. They're not going to fight Hezbollah or fight the Israelis. They're simply going to report back to headquarters, which is why I think from the Russian point of view, this is people are distracted from the main point, which is what is going to stop the Russians after they regroup, restock their army, fill it up with new recruits. They came in 2014. They didn't get as much as they wanted. They came in 2022. They haven't gotten as much as they wanted. What Putin wants is the Russian Empire back. He's not interested in the settlement in Ukraine. He'll agree now, perhaps because it's in his interest to take a breather. But he's coming back again. And if we don't deal with that, we're guaranteeing it. And worse than just Russia, it's what they think in Beijing. They can see that as of now, the United States and NATO are not standing against unprovoked aggression in the center of Europe. What are we going to do when there's unprovoked aggression against Taiwan? It's or in the South China Sea. This is very dangerous territory here.
Those of us in London looking across at the States are trying still to work out who really Donald Trump is in his second term. And it seems to some of us that, in a sense, he sees himself as a kind of emperor in a world of empires where there's him and there's Putin and there's Xi, and most of the rest of us are just kind of rubble under the chariot wheels.
Well, maybe Caligula, maybe that's his hero figure. It gives him too much credit to say he's dividing the world up into 3 zones of influence. Donald Trump doesn't have a philosophy. He doesn't have a grand strategy. What his interest is the greater glory of Donald Trump. He wants peace in Ukraine, not because of American security interest. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He thinks Obama got it undeservedly, which I happen to agree with. And Obama had been in office 11 days when nominations had to be submitted for the prize in 2009. Trump wants that Nobel Peace Prize, and he's going to insist on it if we got a ceasefire.
Never underestimate the power of ego. Mr. Bolton, Ambassador Bolton, thank you very much indeed for talking to LBC.